Warrior Queen Boudicca. Boudicca means victorious woman, was a queen of the ancient British Iceni tribe, who led a failed uprising against the conquering forces of the Roman Empire in AD 60 or 61. She is considered a British national heroine and a symbol of the struggle for justice and independence. Boudicca was the consort of Prasutagus, king of the Iceni, a tribe who inhabited what is now the English county of Norfolk and parts of the neighbouring counties of Cambridgeshire, Suffolk and Lincolnshire. Boudicca's husband Prasutagus, with whom she had two daughters, ruled as a nominally independent ally of Rome. They produced some of the earliest known British coins. They had revolted against the Romans in 47 BC when the Roman governor Publius Ostorius Scapula planned to disarm all the peoples of Britain under Roman control. The Romans allowed the kingdom to retain its independence once the uprising was suppressed. On his death in AD 60-61, Prasutagus made his two daughters as well as the Roman Emperor Nero his heirs. The Romans ignored the will, and the kingdom was absorbed into the province of Britannia. Catus Decianus, procurator of Britain, was sent to secure the Iceni kingdom for Rome. According to the Roman historian Tacitus, Boudicca was flogged and her daughters raped. The historian Cassius Dio wrote that previous imperial donations to influential Britons were confiscated, and the Roman financier and philosopher Seneca called in the loans he had forced on the reluctant Britons. In 60-61, Boudicca led the Iceni and other British tribes in revolt. They destroyed Camulodunum, modern Colchester, earlier the capital of the Trinovans, but at that time a colonia for discharged Roman soldiers. Upon hearing of the revolt, the Roman governor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus hurried from the island of Mona, modern Anglesey, to Londinium, the 20-year-old commercial settlement that was the rebels' next target. Unable to defend the settlement, he evacuated and abandoned it. Boudicca's army defeated a detachment of the Legio IX Hispana, and burned both Londinium and Verulamium. In all, an estimated 70,000–80,000 Romans and Britons were killed by Boudicca's followers. Suetonius, meanwhile, regrouped his forces, possibly in the West Midlands, and despite being heavily outnumbered, he decisively defeated the Britons. The first target of the rebels was Camulodunum, modern Colchester, a Roman colonia for retired soldiers. A Roman temple had been erected there to Claudius, at great expense to the local population. Combined with brutal treatment of the Britons by the veterans, this had caused resentment towards the Romans. The Iceni and the Trinovans comprised an army of 120,000 men. Dio claimed that Boudicca called upon the British goddess of victory Andrest to aid her army. Once the revolt had begun, the only Roman troops available to provide assistance, aside from the few within the colony, were 200 auxiliaries located in London, who were not equipped to fight Boudicca's army. Camulodunum was captured by the rebels. Those inhabitants who survived the initial attack took refuge in the temple of Claudius for 2 days before they were killed. Quintus Petilius Cerealis, then commanding the Legio IX Hispana, attempted to relieve Camulodunum, but suffered an overwhelming defeat. The infantry with him were all killed and only the commander and some of his cavalry escaped. After this disaster, Catus Decianus, whose behavior had provoked the rebellion, fled abroad to Gaul. Suetonius was leading a campaign against the island of Mona, off the coast of North Wales. On hearing the news of the Iceni uprising, he left a garrison on Mona and returned to deal with Boudicca. He moved quickly with a force of men through hostile territory to Londinium, which he reached before the arrival of Boudicca's army. But, outnumbered, he decided to abandon the town to the rebels, who burned it down after torturing and killing everyone who had remained. The rebels also sacked the municipium of Verulamium, modern St. Albans, northwest of London, though the extent of its destruction is unclear. Dio and Tacitus both reported that around 80,000 people were said to have been killed by the rebels. According to Tacitus, the Britons had no interest in taking the Roman population as prisoners, only in slaughter by gibbet, fire, or cross. Dio adds that the noblest women were impaled on spikes and had their breasts cut off and sewn to their mouths, to the accompaniment of sacrifices, banquets, and wanton behavior, in sacred places, particularly the groves of Andrest. Defeat and death. Suetonius regrouped his forces. He amassed an army of almost 10,000 men at an unidentified location, and took a stand in a defile with a wood behind. The Romans used the terrain to their advantage, launching javelins at the Britons before advancing in a wedge-shaped formation and deploying cavalry. The Roman army was heavily outnumbered. According to Dio, the rebels numbered 230,000. But Boudicca's army was crushed, and according to Tacitus, neither the women nor the animals were spared. Tacitus states that Boudicca poisoned herself. Dio says she fell sick and died, after which she was given a lavish burial. It has been argued that these accounts are not mutually exclusive. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel for more videos.